Now, where did I put it? Here it is. Welcome to the Toolbox. Tools for life and everything in between. Stuff you can use or toss, it's up to you. Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 16 of Tools for the Toolbox, and I am super excited again to bring this to you. We got some great conversation coming up, but first off, I'll let my guest introduce himself as per normal. So who are you and what is your military background?
Who am I? Hard question. Who am I? Legally speaking, my name is Rob Ballantyne.
Yeah.
That's my legal name. Who am I? I'll be figuring that out for quite a while, like most of us.
Mm-hmm.
What is my background? Well, like Chance, like yourself, I'm a vet. I served 26 and a half or 26 years, 4 months, 3 days, 12 hours.
But who's counting?
But who's counting, right? I joined in 1987, right out of in Saskatoon. I would say I was more pushed or coerced or guided down that path. So, being a young guy, didn't have a whole lot of ambition at that time, but it seemed like a good fit. I made tons of good friends. I went to Cornwallis in '87. Finished Cornwallis, went to Chilliwack for trades training, and it was a big ride after that.
Okay, and well, for those that don't know, what did you do?
Oh, what did I do? I was a combat engineer, formerly a field engineer. They changed names on the trade, but you still do the same stuff. And you've probably answered this question in other podcasts, but combat engineers are kind of like mobility specialists. They get friendly forces where they need to go, and they stop the enemy from doing the same. So.
Yeah.
There's lots involved in it.
To allow friendly forces to live, move, and fight on the battlefield.
Well, I wasn't going to go all super technical. I was just
welcome back to the creed. Yeah I don't remember the whole creed, but yeah,
that's pretty close. That was good. So and it's transformed itself over the years. When I was a young fella, we were all doctrine based. So force on force, blue on red. NATO against Russia, or this, it was just, it was all Cold War tactics and stuff like that. And all doctor-based good stuff. Mm-hmm. And then, it evolved over the years. We took on missions that we were probably not as prepared for as we could have been or should have been. We went into Kuwait. We did hockey, soccer, UN missions all over the world. But, we started going into war zones, like we went into Kuwait, Somalia, Iraq, all kinds of nifty places over in the sandbox. So, Eritrea, lots of exotic places. The Balkans kind of reared its head in the 90s. That was a slice. That was a good slice there. So we had to learn lots of stuff that we weren't really trained in our formal doctrine training. So and then you roll over to 2000. Now you're looking at a whole other war fighting. Good old Afghanistan, right?
I've always said that the what makes Canadians so celebrated, I guess, in terms of like historical, like if you know military history, the Canadians are always the ones that are like, shit, we can't get this done. No one is able to do it. Well, you know what? We'll send the Canadians and they'll sort it out. And we always
figure
do.
It out.
Yeah.
Well, sure, because we don't even follow our own doctrine, right?
So, exactly. Just like make it up on the fly every time.
Make up all these plans and stuff like that, and you just go, let's do this instead.
Yeah. And I remember going through all the training, and I can't remember how many times I've been told, like, okay, here's the plan, but if it doesn't, like, when this happens, all bets are off. Okay. So when you're making your plan, always have your contingency and your contingency to your contingency, and make sure you have 3 routes just to be sure, because shit's going to go wrong.
True story.
And
no plan survives first contact.
Absolutely.
Ever. What did Muhammad Ali say? He said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah. And it is absolutely
That's how it
true.
is.
And it's up to us. And the other part of it is, like, we've never had one one of the last guys I had talking on here was like saying we were fighting 20-year-olds fighting a war with 30-year-old equipment. And
keep going. 30-year-old equipment. Yeah.
Well, I think at the time he was talking about the Balkans, but we've always had that, right? We've always been kind of late to the fight in terms of equipment, so we've always had to figure out how to make it work with less.
Yeah. No, that was a fact. You know what, and we're not unique in that. We're not the only member of the UN that was like that. However, given our status around the world, we probably could have done a lot better.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking other armies that were there doing that, because everyone has a job to do, and you only can do the job you can do with the tools you're given. So, yeah, it was different. But,
that's what this whole podcast is about. Let's give people some tools. So now that you're
absolutely
20 some odd years, how long have you been out?
I got out in 2013, so good. What is that? What is it now? I don't know. It seems a lot longer. It does, but I guess 7 years, and that's it.
What do you do now?
Pardon me?
What do you do now?
Hey, before I forget, remind me when we start talking about what we're going to talk about, because that Muhammad Ali quote is key. Is actually a nice tie-in to what we're going to talk about.
Perfect.
What do I do now? I was fortunate to find employment right out of the Army. Hit the ground running. I had an opportunity to work with a road crew. So it was horizontal construction, civic work. There was a company called E-Construction, Everall Construction, fantastic company. I'm very thankful for the opportunities that they gave me. They offered this guy, me, a job as a superintendent, running road crew, and this is again one of my points I want to talk about is about human hubris, and where what we think we are versus what we can accomplish is not always measured.
Yep, those are very different things.
However, I was given an opportunity. I soon found out that I had lots to learn. Experience, academic knowledge is one thing, experience is another. But back to your question, I worked for E-Construction for a while. Again, I was very thankful. Another opportunity arose during the oil and gas boom to work with TransCanada. So I interviewed with TransCanada. I got a job, maybe because I was a veteran, maybe because I bullshitted a lot.
Little column A, little column B.
You got to sell yourself, right? I'm not saying lie, but you do have to tell a good story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got a good job with TransCanada. I was a pipeline inspector. It was a good job, paid well. Great company. They look after their people. They have lots of, and for military people, it's right up your alley because it's full of protocols and procedures and SOPs. So it was good. But the takeaway was that I was gone for anywhere from 24 to 26 days every month. So it's like being on a mini tour every month, and it got a little long after a while. I know my family was thinking the same thing. Although the money was decent, you're not home. So, you're supposed to be retired. So, yeah. So, how did that happen here? I was working in Saskatchewan on a dig near Moose Jaw, I think. So we're digging up Keystone. Digging up spots on Keystone, doing integrity digs, and integrity dig is there's an anomaly detected in the pipe. You have to dig it up, and you have to repair it. Big procedure, lots of work to do. I got an opportunity from a friend of mine in the a former military friend, to kind of sit on an interview for the job I'm doing now, which I've been doing for the last almost 6 years, I guess. So my current role is I'm the winter road manager for Nuna Logistics, and what they do is Nuna is a company that offers support and expertise in mining and gas, and they work in the north. Their speciality is working in the north, and coming up with unique solutions to really hard problems. So we work with a lot of gold mines. We work with the diamond mines, to name a few. Some of the ore mines up by Baffin Island. We operate a camp up by Eureka. Pretty camp. We have a camp up there that we put in place to help service the runway at Eureka for the military and for the scientists. Lots of different jobs, and a lot of them are way up north. Some of them are in Ontario up in the boreal forest. But yeah, always remote, always difficult, always hard jobs, good challenges, kind of what we do. So the winter road that I do is the winter road that goes from Yellowknife to the diamond mines. So there's 3 diamond mines right now, 3 major diamond mines. There's Diavik, Acadie, and Gahcho Kué, all owned by different partners. De Beers owns Gahcho Kué. Dominion owns Acadie, and Rio Tinto, another big company, owns Diavik. So these diamond mines operate 24/7, 365 days a year, producing some of the best diamonds in the world. And their lifeline is the seasonal winter road, the annual winter road that happens every year. All the fuel that they need, and it's lots. So you're talking millions and millions and millions of liters of diesel. All the large equipment, all the 740 rock trucks, the 777 rock trucks, you name it. Anything from graders to blow up dolls has to go up the road, right? And that's their window. It's a big their logistics supply chain relies on the road. So it's priority one for us. It's a hard job, and it goes fast. We have a really tight timeline, and we're actually doing that right now. So we have people in camp. We've flown people in camp a few days ago. They're starting up the coal generators and digging out the equipment, and we're going to start building road here right away.
Wow.
So that's it. The job right now is it's almost a 24/7 gig all the way till the end of March. You're on call and nothing stops.
So you basically left the army, took the uniform off, and then got back in the army without the uniform.
That's exactly what it's such a good fit. It's such a good fit because it's a schedule. Like, it's just like going on exercise or going somewhere. It's schedule based. It's SOP based. There's a contract. There's timelines. There's deliverables. There's execution plan. You have your you have your ramp up or your loading phase where you're doing all the training necessary.
Yeah.
You're doing your hiring, and it's in the wheelhouse, and it's comforting. It's comforting. Right?
It is. Yeah.
So like my job, I'm kind of an office-based guy because I have to be in the office, except for during this COVID time. But I do relish getting out to the field. I get out, I get in my truck, I drive the road, I see the folks.
Yeah.
Do the high five and the grip and grin and kiss babies. Yeah, that's fantastic.
That's pretty much everything a sergeant major could dream of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
I would imagine.
Right?
Yeah.
Just sit in the office most of the time. You know what? I got to go see the boys, and then just wander off with your stuff on and look at her. Okay, everybody's going good. Okay,
you know what? But yeah, in this regard, sometimes seeing the boys is renting a helicopter out of Yellowknife. You book a helicopter, jump in the chopper, go north. Like I was up in on site a couple weeks ago, and it was just me. I went by myself and one helicopter pilot. I didn't fly the machine.
Yeah.
And we went up on the road and we drilled holes in the ice and to see what the ice was doing. Like I flew up to the road, and at every winter road camp, you can only access it through a winter road and or by air. So one of the things we need to do before we send people in is we have to know that the ice that they're going to be landing on is suitable, and that's what the ice checks are about. So I flew up and drilled holes in the ice and to see if we're able to land twin otters, dorniers, that kind of stuff, that kind of fixed wing aircraft. Yeah.
That's a pretty cool job, gotta say.
Well, you probably saw the pictures on Facebook.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was nice and windy. It was nice and windy that day. It was great. Yeah.
Oh man. So how, if you just kind of got at it, you just took the uniform off, kind of kept doing the same job. How was your transition?
Not. Um, how was the transition?
Yeah.
The transition to
Coming out of the
being
army into civilian world, being a veteran. What was your transition like?
difficult sometimes. Difficult. I wouldn't say it was seamless. That's definitely that would be nice. It would be a blessing, I guess, or a lot of happy people if that was the case.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it was a little difficult, confusing, mixed emotions.
Yeah.
Not sure if you align with where you're going. Uh, you have to make your own dental appointments, which is weird.
Yep.
Yeah, I was. It's a learning thing, like I would assume if you're like a reservist, you kind of have your feet in both worlds. That part's a little bit easier for you. But being a military guy my whole life, essentially I grew up in the military. Yeah, it was. It's a bit of a culture shock. It's a shock to the system, and
Yeah.
you have to like where do I fit in here, and how do I make it work? Because not everything you do always is the right thing you do. So,
Yeah. Well, it's a challenge across the board. I mean, I've only met a few people who said, "Oh yeah, no, I didn't have much of an issue going through transition," but the only reason they did is because they had someone basically working with them the whole time. They had 6 months of actual planning and staging and paperwork and but it was like one-on-one working directly with somebody from the VA. Like my transition went pretty smoothly because I had a VA rep at Beeford when I got out, and I was the only person getting out at the time. And that was
so you got all their effort.
I got the whole thing, and I had like 2 months, but they were just like, sign this, send this off, sign this, make this appointment, sign it. It was just constant. So my transition went a bit smoother because I had everything in line. But I also know guys that did their like 30-day release and like, I'm out, and just nothing.
Yeah.
So it's such a range.
Knowing what I know now, I wouldn't recommend it.
No, that's not the best way to do it.
No, I definitely wouldn't recommend it. And not to diminish, a person with, only, maybe they got in the military and they decided it wasn't them. They wanted to leave, right? Not trying to diminish that. That might be a little bit easier to get out of the military if you're not too institutionalized, But there's lots of us old fellas that, you're the old guy standing there with the coffee cup, right, and smoking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
I was going to ask, what if you had one piece of advice for any of the boys that are going through this? What do you think you would? Just one.
Well, I'm gonna have to roll back to that Muhammad Ali quote. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And that is exactly what getting out sometimes can be like. You think, okay, well, here's a good example. If you're an operator, a diver, a combat diver, jumper, parachutist, Call of Duty expert, extreme, and you walk the walk, you talk the talk, and you've been on multiple deployments, and you have all these really great stories of greasing guys and playing with dead bodies and blowing stuff up and whatever, right? All those really, really cool Army guy stories that guys like to throw around, right? Well, they're good stories. They're good stories, and
Yep.
and they should remain stories while you're transitioning, because a recruiter from a company, an HR representative, will want to hear it for sure, so they can tell their friends about it. But that doesn't mean that you're a good fit for the company.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's difficult. Like you step on your dick a lot. Can I give an example of stepping on dick?
By all means.
Here's a good example. So I released in 2013. I was a warrant officer. My last tour was Afghanistan. Everything went well. I was pretty happy about things. It was good. I thought, you know what, I'm going to leave on my dime, on my time, and then see where I fit in the world. However, with that bravado of all this, you're all this in a bag of chips and stuff, and I've done this and I've done that. That hubris kind of comes into place, and I had interviewed for a job with a reputable, what am I going to call it, a railway company in Canada. You figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm going to nail it. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to nail it, right? They're going to want 20 of me when they're done talking, right?
Yep.
So sat down. It was a phone interview, but we talked, and tell me about yourself and what are your qualifications and and how are those transferable, and that part's easy, talk about yourself a little bit. And then they started talking about what would you do if scenario-based questions, right?
Yep.
And so, a lot of people want to do the thing where they say, I can do it. I can do anything you want. I can fill any box that you need filled.
Throw me a coach, whatever it is, I got this.
Yeah, that is the military mindset, right? But when you're interviewing for a specific role and stuff like that, they're looking for specifics. They're looking for risk tolerance, risk adversity, stuff like that. So with this reputable railway company that shall remain unnamed, they asked me all these questions, and in this scenario, would you do this? And and I thought about it, and this. You could answer it a couple of different ways. One is a risky way of doing it. Oh yeah, I'm not going to say they asked me to jump from train to train to hit the brake to stop the train from going off the cliff. It wasn't that kind of question, but it was a risk-based question, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I'd do that, no problem, right? Well, in this scenario, would you do this? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'd do that for you if you wanted me to, right? And you know what? I never got a call back. Yeah, they just didn't. They said, mm-hmm. And you know what? And I waited, and I was like, well, I wonder when they're going to call me. Oh, I aced it. Never happened.
Oh man, but that leads directly into what we're going to talk about. And what we're going to talk about is expectations, right? Mm-hmm. And the ability to actually perceive what you think is going to happen, and then be able to adapt quickly when what you think is going to happen doesn't happen, it's a skill set that we have, but I think we underutilize it because I think a lot of it has to do with the wording, especially when we do our training versus when we step into the civilian world, because we don't talk about expectations a lot in terms of, military training, right? You have adapt and overcome, and you have fight through the enemy, and you have, it's all very aggressive, straightforward ninja stuff, right? Yeah, let's go. We don't really sit down and go, okay, let's talk about your expectations. What happened with that, right? that just you don't get those kind of conversations. No,
because you're not asked what your expectations are. You're told what your expectations are.
Yes, that's very true.
Our expectation of you. This is the mission. This is what we need you to do, right?
Yeah. So now, when we're talking about expectations,
you have to find a way to make it happen for yourself.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's commander's intent, right? Like this is what we want to see happen. But when this is what we rarely get, and I remember doing this on my PLQ stuff, was they were talking about, okay, you're gonna have your mission. This is what's gonna happen, and then come back and report when it's done. And I was like, thinking to myself, what happens when I don't complete the mission? Like, complete compromise, we're doing a recce, right? And all of a sudden I've compromised, I got to get back in. That's not really taught very much. Like, we had one class on, what to do if shit hits the fan, and it's always just run.
Yep.
Which.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's that's a leadership and management piece.
Mm-hmm.
But For sure.
I think if we had talked about it more, if we had developed that, I think we'd be able to produce more people that could like think on the fly and come up with other solutions. And I hear about a lot of it in special forces training when they're doing shoot no shoot scenarios, and lots of I saw the SEALs do one cool where they have like a big headpiece on and it's just black, and then they pop the headpiece off and you have to deal with the situation that's right in front of you, regardless of what it is. So sometimes it's a knife, sometimes it's a lady, sometimes a dude asking for directions, guy pulls a gun, like you have to be able to just decipher on the fly. And I don't think we train that, but I think a lot of it would do with a definition. So when you're talking expectations, what are you actually talking about?
Well, for me, expectations are on transitioning out of the military is like you have to kind of determine what you're worth, and I don't mean I guess it could be monetary, right? But what is it worth? What am I worth, and how do I fit in? Like a lot of military guys military folk have a tendency of staying in their lane, right? This is my right arc, this is my left of arc, and I'm going that way, right? Because that's my job is that way. I'm going to do that, right? And it's great, and that's good stuff to do because it gives you laser focus on your job, and you're in the military, it gives you your laser focus on your job. However, to find out where you're worth and where you fit in, you have to kind of, your arcs have to kind of widen out a little bit. You can't always stay in your lane, and I'm not talking about doing everybody else's job and being a micromanager. But in the military, they call it professional development. So, you're a combat engineer, you're an infantry guy, you're an artillery guy, you're a truck driver, cook, whatever, and your job is to do X, right? So, your OC might one day say, hey, we're going to do some professional development, and I want you to give a class on the third page of QRNOs, right? So you're like, oh shit, I don't know that. So you got to get into the books.
Yep.
Or you have to give a PD class on SysUp, right? Definitely not in your wheelhouse, right? But you have to figure it out. So in the transitioning, you're hired as a superintendent for a road job or for a road construction company. You have to know how to build the road, right? Mm-hmm. You also have to know how payroll works. You have to know how scheduling works. You have to know how contracts work. You have to know how estimating works. You have to know how what the company's policies are. You have to know, most importantly, the safety program, and you have to be the subject matter expert on it on site. You have to be well versed in OH&S. You have to know WSCC. You see where it goes. So your job as a superintendent for being the road superintendent. And you're responsible for, making sure the road is built with your foreman and your crew, and they moving stuff and make sure they have the tools to do their job and everything's getting fixed. Additionally, all of the other stuff that trickles in, all the other snow that falls on your head is also your responsibility. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to be the expert on it, but you have to know it, right? Because if you don't know it, then the guy that works for you, the young guy who's driving your dump truck, he doesn't get paid on time.
Yep. And
he doesn't get paid on time. The trickle effect is his mortgage is late. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So staying in your lane is good some places, and you have to, what I'm getting at here is you have to have wiggle room to move left and right.
Yeah, absolutely. My psychologist worked with me when I was first, when I was having a lot of issues, and I was like, I was very binary. And I think a lot of military guys have a very binary thought process, right? It either is a way or it isn't. That's it, right? There's no question about it. People are either assholes or they're not, right? People can't drive or they can, right? There's no wiggle room for a bad day or anything like that. And my psychologist used to work with me on building that gray area. So she would really challenge me on it constantly. I mean, she still does, but we did it a lot when I was first seeing her. And it was, I hate when people are like this. They're horrible human beings, period. And she's like, well, okay, so in every situation where this happens, in every single time, in every infinite circumstance, that makes them a horrible human being. And you're like, what?
Wow.
I mean, no, right? I mean, most of the time, sure. And she's like, okay, yeah, most of the time's good, but not 100%, right? And you're like, well, yeah, okay. And that gives you that little gray area,
That's
right?
that problem that they're digging into, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is, but it's something that, we do. And it's because when you live life and death in terms of
Absolutely.
what you do, that's what it is. This will either I will live or I won't.
We can jump right on that because in the same scenario of speaking with professionals, if there's something you're stuck on, you have a stuck point on something, and you're talking about it, and it could be very dramatic, and it could be life and death. Someone, you were involved in a significant incident overseas, right? Whatever that may be. And you're the leader, you're in charge of your section, your troop, your squadron, your platoon, whatever, you're in charge. You're the guy that is leading them, right? So and when stuff goes bad, people carry a lot of survivor guilt, right? And because you're always taught it's your fault, right? Own the situation, own your sphere, and deal with it, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, that. In that regard, it does make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. In that lifestyle, 100%.
It totally does. Yeah. And I'm not in any way advocating shirking responsibility. No. Not at all. Right. But what I am saying is you need to be able to look at it a little bit differently. Because she would say, "Well, was that your fault?" I'm like, "Yeah, it was my fault. I was in charge."
Yep.
Well, was there any way you could have prevented it? I'm like, I wasn't there, but what could you have done? Like, you weren't there, so how would you have prevented it? I'm like, well, let's see here. I could have given a better set of orders. I could have trained the person a little bit better. Maybe, when they were 16, I could have visited them and, started teaching them then. Yep. Well, when they're in kindergarten, I probably could have, then it just kind of rolls back. I'm like, so, yeah. Was it your fault? Not really, but you feel responsible.
Absolutely. And there's a great quote that I heard, and it's all on you, but it's not about you.
Yeah.
And it took me a very long time to learn that, and especially when it comes to survivor guilt and that realm, is that yes, technically it's your responsibility. Mm-hmm. Cool. Could you have done anything like differently if the circumstances were realigned and you were back in it at your best? Could you have actually done anything about it? You're talking about war. Shit happens, right? Like, you can't plan for everything. You can't mitigate every opportunity. You can do your best, and the best is that's it. That's all you got. So
that comes down to your risk tolerance, right?
Exactly, right? If you said, if nobody's gonna die on my tour, then nobody leaves.
Well, that's a fantastic way of putting it too. Like, look at, I don't know if you remember the cheesy movie Thin Red Line.
Oh yeah.
Remember that movie? Halfway through the movie, Nick Nolte's he's trying to be a colonel, and he's under pressure from his boss to deliver on this island, and mm-hmm. He's really giving the captain shit about not advancing up the island and getting his guys killed. And the guy's like, "Sir, I'm not doing it. We're not going." Yeah. And he freaks out. He's like, "You fucking commit your guys," and rah, rah. I think his name's Styles, whatever. Anyways, he's ripping on him really hard about it. And the guy's like, "Well, I'm not doing it."
Yeah. Right? Yeah, they were under like massive machine gun fire, and they couldn't even get their heads up. And then
pinned down. They're from an elevated position. A bare open alpine plane. Yeah. So anyway, so that was that guy's risk tolerance. He's like, "Yeah, well, I'm not. No."
Yeah.
Right? Well, so. Yeah, back to that. Is it your fault? No, it's not your fault. But
it's your responsibility, right? It is your responsibility to make sure that those guys are as safe as possible.
Yes.
But it is not your fault, right? It is your responsibility, and that's a big.
It takes a long time to make the differentiation.
It does.
Yes, it does.
Boy, does it ever? It is.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back on expectations. We went into the weeds on that one a little bit, but This it's actually
Very
it's,
true.
it's perfect that we were talking about this, because really, expectations can be a good thing, right? To have a plan and have a way forward, and actually this is what I want to have happen. But when you get too attached to those things, it's when you get like latched onto them, that this is gonna work, this is absolutely gonna work, and then when shit goes sideways, which is life fucking goes sideways, you have to be able to go, okay, adjust, right? And that takes a long process. That's not an easy, like, oh yeah, okay, I'll fly with it and see what happens. That's a lot of training and a lot of work to get there.
Yeah, unless you're stoned every day, and that's maybe that'll work, but
Yeah.
generally, for a person in the workforce, being stoned all the day is counterintuitive. So
A little bit, yeah.
a little bit. So I guess your expectation is, if you're getting out of the military and your plan is to be, an Xbox commando, fantastic, right? You knock yourself out.
Yep.
Right? Have low expectations. Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if you want to go beyond being the Xbox commando on the couch, it's going to take a lot of work. Like I think one of the problems you have is when you decide that you're going to go down a path, and generally when you're service in the military, you normally have pretty good leadership, right? Sometimes it didn't work out. Sometimes, but like you know what? Everyone's human. People do what people do within their constraints and best of their abilities. You hope. So with all the professionalism in place, all the direction from higher, I guess. You normally had a pretty good, pretty solid leadership. No one's asking you to do anything that would be out of the realm, so to speak.
Yeah.
So when you leave the military and you had a great boss, you had a good section commander, you had a good sergeant, and everybody around you was positive, and always told you, that fucking Chance, you're doing a great job. Well, actually, that was never said, but
Yeah, I don't think that was ever said. Yeah.
But he said, what, you're doing a good job. Your PDR is great. Your PER, you're going to be a section commander in no time. All you need to do is, work on your military writing and your French skills, whatever, right? That kind of stuff. So that's, you have a path ahead. So your boss is the guy you can always go to for a solid answer. And if he doesn't know it, he's going to go find out for you.
Yeah.
Right. That is how that happens. In civilian life, it's not the same thing. It's not at all the same thing, because the potato head that you have as a boss, and I'm not saying my boss is a potato head, but I'm just saying some bosses are potatoes.
Yeah.
And you expect the same level of mentorship, leadership, discipline, guidance, and you're not going to get it. Not all the time. You could. So it's easy to become discouraged because you're not going to receive the feedback on, what, you did a good job or you did a shitty job. Because guys in the military like to know where they fucked up. Where did you fucking shit the bed on that? Oh, your critter group. Oh man, that was the shits.
Yeah.
It was ineffective for the following reasons, right? And so I'm like, okay, well, I needed to put more trigran in and then my hole spacing wasn't quite right, and maybe I had to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to get it better next time. You won't get that in civilian life all the time,
Not normally, no.
Not normally, no. So that is one of the harder things I have had to rationalize with myself is it's not that you're on your own. It's just you're not going to receive that feedback, positive or negatively, which helps you develop in your role.
Yeah. I found that, the biggest trick with that is understanding that leadership comes from your own will, right? Like I look back at my my time when I was a very bitter corporal for a little while there. Yeah, I know, right? When did that happen? But I was talking to a good friend of ours, and he was saying I was like, oh yeah, when I left, I was super bitter, and he was like, what? You were never super bitter. And I was like, I think I was more bitter than I was more bitter at the regiment than I ever was not bitter at the regiment. But he was like, no, when I was there, you were switched on, you wanted to work, you were coming up with ideas, you were good to go. And after he told me that, I was like, there was a point in time where I was like that. And as I stopped getting feedback, as I stopped getting the direct mentorship and the leadership, I started wondering, like, I was like, oh, I must be doing something wrong. I must not be succeeding, or I must, so I, and then you start going, well, fuck them. If I'm not getting, if I can't do anything right, why the fuck am I doing anything? And why am I watching these guys get promoted when I'm obviously better than them, right? Like there's the ego starts to kick in, and the hubris, as you were saying earlier, it starts to build up, and you get really bitter. And then I also realized that who wants to send that guy on course, right? Like if I was a sergeant and I'm looking at this corporal who's just a dickhead, he shows up every day, hates life, doesn't want to do anything, and is a fucking asshole. I'm not sending him on a fucking breaching course. I'm not going to send him on a jump course. No, he looks bad for the regiment. Not going to happen. And so I realized after that, I was like, oh, that's why. So the bitterer I got, the less stuff I was going to get, which made me more bitter, which less stuff I got, right? And it's a negative cycle.
It's known as a self-licking ice cream cone.
Exactly. But had I stayed positive, had I stayed, a hard charger and a pusher and like, let's keep going, I probably would have gotten the courses I wanted. I probably would have been in.
It's not always easy to maintain a positive attitude all the time, right?
But that my expectation was that I was going to receive the same style of leadership and mentorship that I got in the field squadron, and then I got put in RHQ, and I had 4 bosses and nobody really knew what to do with me. And, when I was in the incel, I was working for the RSM technically, but he didn't manage my day-to-day stuff. Nor would he, right? But I had a signaler sergeant who was writing my PERs, or my PDRs, who doesn't know what an engineer intelligence guy should be doing. I'm not getting intelligence courses because the guy who actually sets up the training courses doesn't like me, and I don't like him, and we just smash heads every time we talk. It all makes sense, right? You're like, okay, yeah. And it began with my own expectation that I was going to get the same level. Like you and I just came back from tour, right? I got thrown in the incel right away, and I'm like expecting tour level style of guidance, right? Not anywhere close to that. And I think it's very similar in when you get from the military and you go out into civilian life. It's that big of a gap. Like you're coming from no shit, everybody's got to work, let's get this fucking job done, to I don't really know who the fuck I'm working for, and I don't know what the fuck's going on, and no one's telling me anything. Cool.
That your expectation was not being met, and therefore you went down a bit of a self-destructive path, which was a negative cycle, really.
Absolutely. And it wasn't until I got to Meaford that everything changed, where like the slate was clean. The people treated me like an adult. No one knew that I was this bitter ass corporal for 1CR, right? And I was hanging out with guys that I knew, like John was out there, and yeah, I had a blast, right? And
yeah, John's good shit.
Yeah, and so because he's going to be on this podcast eventually, I'm going to get him on here because he definitely needs to be. And but yeah, I had a blast because there was no competition. There was no. I had my arcs, right? They right off the bat. Show up here this time. You leave at this time. When there's a course, you're going to do course stuff. You're going to be under these people, blah, 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 blah. The expectation was there. It was set ahead of time, right? They were like, this is what you expect. And you followed. You're like, cool, let's do it. And then, same thing when I got out. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, now what? What do I do? Right? I'm out. I handed all my shit. And, I've said this a few times. The thing that I had to learn this very early was, what do you do when your whole life has been mission before self, and now self is the mission? So what do you?
Yeah.
Now
You
what,
got
right?
to figure that shit out.
it's, it's not an easy spot.
It's not. It's not. And not and some people are good at. Some people are better at it than others.
Yeah, I mean, it compounds when you're either injured or, if you come out of the military healthy, right? Life's a little bit easier, right? You're not dealing with pain or stress or doctor's appointments or blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But it makes it a lot worse when you're not healthy, and it can go down a very very negative hole very quickly. And I think having specific expectations is good, but you need to be able to. You got to be able to shift, bob and weave at times, because you're going to get punched in the face.
And then your plan's no good.
Yeah. But I've been working a lot with a bunch of guys and a bunch of really solid vets who have gotten out and they're just willing to help and wanting to be a part of larger organizations. Like when I'm doing stuff for the walk and I'm doing stuff for this podcast, I'm helping out with other organizations who are out there helping veterans and helping first responders and all this stuff.
Yep.
My expectation at the beginning was, let's see what happens. Right. And I have been very pleasantly surprised for a lot of it. All of a sudden I'm, keep getting put in charge of stuff. And I don't know why.
Well, that's come up with a big speech, and you gotta stand there and you're smoking with your red smoking jacket and a glass of cognac and brandy and yeah. Just fake it, make shit up, and people are there to listen to you. So
yeah, see what happens from there. What can you do, right? And I think it's also like I have plans, right? I have stuff that I want to do. I have, we're already in the planning phase for next year for the walk, and we're really excited because we got lots of stuff going on. But there's always this thing that since I've gotten out now, that in the back of my head is just like, we'll see, right? I give myself a couple of weeks. Shit happens or shit doesn't happen. Okay, give myself another couple of weeks. And with COVID, when this started in the beginning of the year, or last November or whatever whenever the shit actually started hitting the fan, we were still thinking about a summer walk, right? We were still planning for it. We had 14 cities lined up. We had people good to go. We were getting all these volunteers ready. We were like talking big, and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, no gatherings period. And we're like, shit. Now what do we do?
But you guys saw that and were able to make a shift. Okay, what do we need to do to keep doing that? Like how do we change our business plan here?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you guys did a great job. Like like I don't know what the numbers look like for the dollars part, but you still have the buy-in because people were showing up.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, like it was great. We talked about it this summer while we were walking around. So
yeah, and it came from that mindset of every couple of weeks I was just like, well, we'll see what happens. Right? Here's the plan. This is what I want to get done. Let's see what happens. And that took a lot of grace too, because for military guys, when we're getting out and we're doing any kind of operations, it's very, very finite, right? Everything has, this will be done by this time. This will be done at this time. This will be done at this time. This will be done at this time. No, there's no movement on that, right? Does it ever happen? Sometimes, for the important stuff, yeah, shit happens, right? But when you say, okay, we're going to move from this point to this point, and it's going to take us 15 minutes, and then we're going to move from this point to this point, and somebody throws a fucking track right off the bat, that 15 minutes is out of the window, right?
Yeah, you're there for 3 hours. So
yeah, and we're really good at being able to think on the fly in dire situations, right? Shit explodes. Okay, well, let's figure out what the fuck to do. But I think at the more minute stuff where, you got 15 minutes to get from A to B and you get stuck behind a slow driver, and that's just like, it makes you want to rake your brain. Like, it's so painful. It's because of that expectation, right? It's that, yeah, it is. It's that expectation that we just want to, there's no reason why this shouldn't happen, right? This is not a good enough reason for me to say that this didn't happen. So when you're talking expectations for life, right, for beyond, what is the military and what is getting out right away. What do you think people should be looking at in terms of expectations?
Like,
like, how do you make a plan for your, like, if you're thinking 10 years down the road, are you thinking 5 years down the road? Are you talking 30 years down the road?
I wish I have a plan. I don't have a plan. You know, I have a schedule at work that I go by. I'm lucky that my a bulk of my work will be done through the winter season, and then the summer really chills out. So it gives my wife and I the opportunity to go to the mountains, go camping, you know, do stuff. I can fart around on my Friozilla project.
Mm-hmm. Which is looking awesome. Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to that thing. That's gonna be wicked.
That should be a podcast.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh, right. But yeah, no. Well, we talked about being flexible, right? You have to have flexible expectations. You know, all those things you've learned in the military, that you bring to any position, that gives you good fundamentals, it sets you apart from other people a little bit because there's a heavy set conscience in what you do. Sometimes it's not just a paycheck, you know, like it's, you know, sometimes you view your new position, your new job as, you know, this is the new me and I want to make it the best I can. Mm-hmm. But for people getting out, and I'm going to speak in this specifically here about gaining employment. Yeah. So I'm not talking, because I'm not the right guy to tell you how you should feel when you get out, you know, and that's not my role. That's not my place. You know, I'm still trying to figure it out, you know. But I think, you know, dependent on your career, and most people in the military are, you know, somewhat successful or professionals in what they do. They have a high degree of adeptness in technical skills, scheduling, coming up with a plan, doing estimates on the fly. You know, and so all these things that you bring to the table, they really, you know, like you can view yourself as, you know, you're all this in a big bag of chips, right? But I think you have to be prepared to not get that job right off the bat, you know, like so. And you know, I don't even really have a good comparison here. Like if you're a logistics person, for so to speak, and you know you can get a job at another logistics company as a shipper receiver, that's right up your alley. Mm-hmm. You know, that is totally cross-trained.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
You know, you don't even, you know, it's probably the same freaking computer. You know, it's the same stuff.
Yep.
But I think, you know, like if you're a combat engineer, I think you're, you know, an infantry guy, you combat arms kind of guy. You know, you've done your 6B, your 6A, you know, you have all your leadership courses, and you've really topped out at where you can go in the military. You know, you may even have your master gunner course and stuff like that. You might need to be prepared to take a couple steps backwards in your role.
Yeah.
You know, like and for a lot of guys, that's great. That's what they want. You know, they don't want the high speed, the high pressure, all the responsibility. They just want to roll it back a little bit and take it easy. Yeah. Some people getting out want to have, you know, they want to have that $120,000 an hour or $120,000 a year job right off the bat.
Love to make 120 grand an hour. That'd be fucking awesome.
That's a lot of money. Yeah, but you know, it may not happen right off the bat. Yeah. So you have to be ready to kind of roll back a little bit, you know? And like I said before, you know, like when you take any position, whatever you're offered, because whatever you're going to do, you're going to be learning skills that you didn't have before.
Yep.
You know, like places like Home Depot, you know, I've heard people scoff at other people's, you know, they got a job at Home Depot. I think that's a friggin' fantastic idea.
Absolutely.
You know, because, you know, sure, it's Home Depot may not be the most challenging job in the world, but who cares? What does it matter? You know, you're getting out, you have employment, it's steady. You're learning about HR. because where have you ever learned about HR in the military? You're learning about WSCC, you're learning about OH&S,
Yep.
you're learning about payroll.
Yep.
You're making your own freaking dental appointments, that kind of stuff. That's a good stepping stone to going into another opportunity, and then maybe another opportunity. So, just dial it back a little bit, and it'll be a little easier on yourself.
Absolutely. My psychologist uses the term grace. You have to give yourself grace. You have to be gracious in how you deal with yourself, and a lot of it is specifically that, right? Like you may think getting out as an infanteer, who's going to hire this? I'm a machine gunner. I have no skills. Well, you have fucking tons of skills, right? That's even as a corporal, you have leadership skills, you have drive, you have a work ethic, you have all these great things that people are just dying for in the civilian market.
Absolutely.
But you have to have the expectation that you're not going to be a machine gunner in civilian life. that job doesn't exist.
If the new COVID vaccine turns the world into zombies and
give her. Yeah.
Perfect, right? Then you're set. However,
however that may not happen.
And I'm prepared for that with my zombie or my Ferozilla project.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. You're good to go. I'll link up with you. We'll go down to the ranch and we'll wait it out.
We'll be set.
Yeah, we'll have lots of elk and lots of cows. We'll be fucking 100%.
And we'll be set, and we will look good doing it too.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, important.
So, one of the points I wanted to make on this, especially because expectations are a very interesting subject to get into, because there are so many benefits to it, but there are also really a lot of negatives if you don't pay attention to them. And for me, not just getting out, but moving on in life and being able to advance, I had to humble myself lots of times, right? When I got out and I went to school right away, I was like, I'm a soldier. This is civilian college. I should be fucking top of class. No problem, right? Sit in the front, no big deal. You can't get me, blah, blah, blah. I had to humble myself right off the bat because I didn't like the fact that I had 45 people behind me. Like that drove me nuts. I'm like, okay, no, I'm going to sit in the back. Fuck this noise. And then shit, I can't hear the teacher. I have to put my hearing aids in. Mm-hmm. That's another humbling experience, right?
It is.
And then I'm realizing that there are two guys in my class. Me is one of them, another guy. And out of the other 44 students, 4 are over the age of 30. Or over the age of 20, sorry. So I am surrounded by 19-year-old girls. And that was one of the most challenging experiences I've ever had in my entire life, man. Sitting in the back of a class, formerly Master Corporal Burles, while all I can hear in my hearing aids is...
Oh, yeah. I know.
During the lectures, right? And I'm ready to scream.
My skin crawls with you.
But...
Yeah, in meetings we have today. Sorry, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, go ahead, man.
I was just gonna say, it's just like, phone etiquette, and I guess that's a thing now because everyone has phones. So like during an orders group, if your phone went off, like imagine how much fucking shit you're gonna get.
Man, I can see the daggers in everybody's eyes, just like what?
The CO's hour with the regiment, and like imagine you're texting your fucking BFF, right?
You know what? I had the duty driver phone ring while we were on regimental parade out back on a Wednesday.
Oh man, I shit my pants if it happened.
I sat I tried to as super slowly as I could turn it off. Yeah. I hit the wrong button, the volume went up. So bad.
Yeah,
anyway.
And automatically, people are gonna be wanting their pound of flesh for it. It's a small thing, but for some reason it carries a lot of teeth. I don't know.
Yeah.
In my job now, I work with everybody has a cell phone, obviously, right? Yeah. Everybody does. Everyone has a laptop. No one shows up to meetings on time, which drives me fucking crazy, right? I'm still 5 minutes early for my meeting. If it's at 10 o'clock, I'm there 9:55 minimum. And with my book and my coffee and my phone's
on, go 100%. Yeah.
Here's on silent. And people start walking in at, 1 minute after the hour, looking at their phone and, anyways, my skin crawls.
Yeah, absolutely. And,
you have to learn to live in their world.
Oh, yes. And I've said this many times is that we are a minority. very much so, right? We have, I don't know, 600,000 to 1 million standing military and veterans across the nation. There's 34 million people in the country, right? We make up a tiny, tiny percentage of that, and we cannot expect the rest of the country to all of a sudden accept military doctrine. And this is the way thing is. Fucking
again, only if the COVID vaccine goes bad and they can declare martial law.
Then. But even then, it's not even true like military discipline. It's civilianized military discipline, right? Go to your homes, stay inside.
That'd still be cool. So,
it would be interesting, but
we'll see what happens. So
I've been praying for a zombie apocalypse, but
no kidding. I have a zombie book in the shitter. You know, you can thumb through it and find out how to build a punji pit. You know, just right in the front door.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Why would you want those skills?
Well, you never know.
Yeah,
just another tool in the toolbox, right? So we're cruising over an hour right now, and I can't thank you enough, man. This has been just a great conversation.
It was a good conversation. You know what? We could go on for version 2 and 3 and stuff like that, but yeah, I think we hit all the milestones on the conversation, right?
For sure, man. And you know, it's all about the tools that people pull out of it, right? And people are going to be picking pieces out of it that we didn't even think were going to be pieces, and that's why I'm here. This whole thing is about information for.
It's a great idea.
The masses, right?
I think for veterans getting out and trying to figure out their expectations and, you know, where do you fit in the world and stuff like that. You know, don't sweat the small things too much. Don't freak out over cell phones. Don't freak out over people being a little bit late. You know, it's going to happen. You know, and don't let it ruin your day, because you know, you know, there's a great saying out there. Was it a bad day, or was it a bad 5 minutes that ruined your day? Right? It was probably just a bad 5 minutes.
Yeah, and it normally is, right?
But you know, I say that very cavalierish. You know, like, like I'm a psychologist. I've had many bad 5-minute days. So
as have I. And you know,
a learning thing.
It's just like everything else. We have to do it over and over and over again. I tell my son this all the time, right? Everything is hard until you do it enough times that it gets easy. And doesn't matter what it is. It's always going to be hard, and it's going to suck, and it's going to be a grind. But you have to just keep going if it's worth it. And this is what this just reminded me. There was something I was going to say. There was a movie years ago. I think it was The Girl Next Door with Alicia Cuthbert. Anyway, there was one line in it that always stayed with me. It was the juice worth the squeeze? And you gotta, so you gotta remember, whatever it is you want, whatever it is you're going after, is the juice worth the squeeze? Because there's going to be a grind. There's going to be shitty days. There's going to be hard periods of time on whatever it is you want to do. If you want to be Xbox champion, there's going to be days that you don't have power, or Wi-Fi goes out, or fucking you have to go to the shitter. I don't know.
5-year-old kid in Malaysia. Yeah,
exactly. You might have to sit there and listen to a 12-year-old tell you that they fucked your mother. Like, you know, there's going to be bad periods. Yeah, exactly. But you can't let that, like, you have to be able to say, okay, is it worth the squeeze? And I mean, even when it comes to, you know, raising my boys, there are lots of days where I just want to fucking punch myself in the face for, like, why did I even decide to do this? But the juice is worth the squeeze, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
We're on a limb there, so.
Yeah. But anyway, you know, I can't thank you enough for being on here, man. This has been awesome. And this is going to be a great episode. Do you have any last minute points? Anything you want to?
No, not really. I'm looking forward to the next one, wherever I can help out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like hanging out with veterans, because not everybody at work always gets me. So, you know,
we're a strange crew, especially the engineers. We do some weird stuff. And I mean, really, anytime you volunteer to handle bombs, you're going to be a little off.
It's pretty nifty, though. You know.
It is. It's a lot of fun. I love doing it. Anyway, okay. If anybody wants to follow you, know more about you, you got any social media, anything you want to?
No, I just have the normal Facebook, and I have an Instagram account I don't even look at. So yeah, no YouTube channels. No, I'm not that interesting. I might put something out there in the new year, but that'll be a plug for a later time,
Wicked. Sounds good.
Yeah.
That concludes this episode of The Toolbox. I want to thank you for listening. I hope you were able to use some of the information that was offered. I want to thank all those putting it on the line for us every day. Military, veterans, first responders, and public servants. Keep up the good work. I look forward to bringing you more tools for your toolbox. And until next time, stay open, stay humble, and stay focused. Chimo.